to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. Today, we are going to meet Tanya Dalton, a best-selling author, speaker, productivity expert, and growth strategist for female leaders. Tanya is the author of 2 books, The Joy of Missing Out, which was named one of the top 10 business books of the year by Fortune magazine, and her new book, On Purpose, The Busy Woman's Guide to an Extraordinary Life of Meaning and Success. Sounds like something we want, right? Now, she's also the host of the International Advantage podcast, is a featured expert on NBC and Fox, and is a VIP contributor for Entrepreneur.com. You may have seen her in Forbes, Inc., Fast Company, and Real Simple. She has been awarded the Elite Enterprising Women Award and has been named the Female Entrepreneur to Watch for the state of North Carolina. Tanya is also the founder and CEO of Inkwell Press Productivity Company, a multi-million-dollar company helping women do less while achieving maximum success. Again, I had you at hello line, right? I am so glad that we get to talk with her today so that she can guide us through a new kind of goal-setting framework that we can start implementing right now today as soon as you hear it from Tanya. And we can take it right into 2022. I'm so excited about it. And I can't wait to share this interview with you. Let's meet Tanya. Hi, Tanya. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
I'm excited to be here, LuAnn. I'm excited about this.
I am too. I have been taking in both your book and your podcast. I'm very impressed, and I'm very excited to pick your brain apart. I
can't wait for that.
My listeners here, they know that, I have a love-hate relationship with productivity, Tanya.
I understand that.
Yeah. So there's very few people that get as much done in a day or a week as I do, but I'm not very structured about doing it, and I sort of resist almost anything that would make it easier for me to get it done better.
You're not alone in that. You're not alone.
Oh, it's crazy. So, but anyway, so let's just start with your book, your latest book. So your first book came out I guess a year or 2 ago, The Joy of Missing Out. And the new book just came out a couple of months ago, is called On Purpose, The Busy Woman's Guide to an Extraordinary Life of Meaning and Success. That sounds like something what we all want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the thing. I wanted the subtitle especially to just kind of hit you between the eyes where, we all feel busy. So I wanted women to see the book and say, oh, this is a book for me and I can have that extraordinary life. Because I truly think that is possible. It's a choice to have an extraordinary life.
It's interesting because we do know it, right? Like if we're not sleeping at the wheel in our own life, we do know that we have choices every day and that we could, it's funny. My daughter has a podcast, Tanya, and her podcast is called Sass Says, and she talks with professionals about mental health and about the issues surrounding motherhood. And I was listening to a recent podcast on mindfulness, and they were talking about how can you be mindful. And the woman was explaining, like, even washing your hands, pay attention to the water, pay attention to the soap, pay attention to the bubbles. And it reminded me of the podcast that I heard of yours, where you have that mechanism for being in the present moment. And you were talking about time has it's a fine it's a thing. It's not, you can't make it longer, you can't make it shorter, but you can make it feel longer or shorter. And you did the exercise in the car with looking for a color or looking for items that begin with the letter W. And it just talk a little bit about time and that thing there, Tanya.
Yeah, well, we love to blame time. Time is like, it's like we blame everything on the universe
bad
or we
guy.
blame it on time. We hear that I don't have enough time or there's just not enough time in the day. And the truth is, in our world, there is a scarcity and abundance of a lot of things, but all things are equal when it comes to time. Time is time. You, me, your neighbor down the street, Beyonce, we all have the same 24 hours. It's all in how we perceive it. It's the perception of time. 60 minutes at the beach reading a book and looking at the waves is exactly the same as 60 minutes right before you're meeting with a client for a big presentation. Same 60 minutes, yet they feel extraordinarily different. One is amazing and it stretches and it feels incredible. The other one feels sweaty and exhausting, right?
And the time is ticking. It's ticking, 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 right?
Exactly. Wondering where time went, because that's the other thing is we're so busy chasing busy, we wonder where the time went. We have this hypnosis in our days where we're missing these gaps of time. So one of the exercises I talked about on my podcast recently is this exercise of just being in the present. That's how we stretch our time out, really taking in the moment with all of our senses. And I was noticing that, I would get in my car to leave my office. And then next thing you know, I'd be at home. Like, okay, where was I? Surely I was driving. Right. Surely I was safe, all of those things. But I wasn't truly fully present. So I started this little game for myself where I would focus in on a color. Like, let's say the color is pink or the color is purple. And I would say, okay, I'm going to focus in on the color pink on the drive home. And my brain, and this is what's amazing about your brain, is you have this filter called your reticular activating system. It filters out all your thoughts and it looks for what you tell it to. And so if you say, I want to filter for pink, it starts filtering for pink. So I'm driving home and suddenly I see, a pink flag and I see a pink bike and I see this sign with pink lettering and I see all these things that I never have seen before. I've gone up and down this road 1,000,000 times at least. And yet I haven't noticed all these little things on my path. The house down the street. I didn't notice the kids' swimming pool, and I didn't notice. And so it really brings you into the moment. It starts allowing you to filter in for what's present in front of you. And so I do that with colors, or I'll choose like a letter. And what's amazing is it makes the drive, first of all, stretch and expand in this beautiful way where it creates this nice transition from home to the office or office back to the home. But then it also feels enjoyable. And I want to get in the right mindset because I call it compartments. I want to close my work compartment so I can go to my home compartment. So I can give 100% of me to my family, to my kids, to my husband, to my friends. I want to be 100% present with them. And that beautiful transition allows me to do that.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. I hope, I hope everybody did as well too, because it does make you think. And, to me, I'm zeroing in on the sentence that you said is that your brain looks for what you tell it to look for. And when you do an exercise like that, you prove it to yourself, because of course I had to do it after I heard about it on your podcast.
It's surprising, isn't it?
Yes. And but then the thing is, it also then reminded me, like, when we all have negative people in our life, right? We call them the glass is half empty people. But then I started to think about it. It's like, right, if you're a negative person, you've told and trained your brain to look for the negative, just like you can tell and train your brain to look for pink on the way home. Yes. And I just thought it's a great little way to prove something to yourself that has very, in my mind, profound repercussions on our mindset. If you really are balking at your mindset, no, I'm not a negative person. No, I believe that I can run my business. No, I can believe it's just that this happened and that happened and this happened. And a lot of times when I'm interviewing somebody, if they potentially want to be a chairman of the board client of mine or whatever, or any type of engagement, I'm going to get involved with somebody in a prolonged way, an employee, potential employee. I mean, I'm looking for that frame of mind of, are you looking for the good things or are you looking for the bad things? And I just thought, that looking for the pink on the way home really proves that you can fall into the trap of telling your brain to look for the wrong things.
Without question. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing. We've also experienced this too when we've decided we want to buy a certain kind of car. And all of a sudden you look around and everyone's driving that car and you're like, hold on a minute, does everyone drive this car? And it's just that your brain is suddenly like, oh, she likes this car. I'm now filtering for this car. It's the same thing when you put an intention out in the world.
Right.
And we could call that manifestation if you wanted to,
Sure.
even. Where
Yes.
it's putting out this intention and your brain starts scanning. So let's say you decide that you want to get an advanced certification or something like that. All of a sudden your brain is like, oh, you know what, that course catalog that just came from the local community college, look at how there's a course in here. And suddenly things start appearing because your brain is showing it to you.
Mhm.
It's been there all along, but suddenly your brain's like, oh, she thinks this is important, whether it's something positive or something negative. Truly, your thoughts become the lens that you view the world. And I think that's really powerful when you understand that. Same thing with choices. When you understand you have choices and you actively start looking for them, your brain's like, oh, she likes choices. Let me show her more opportunities. Let me show her more choices. Same thing.
Love it. Love it. And does this tie into the actual backbone of your book of living on purpose? On purpose is the name of the book. Tell us, what does that mean? Is it everything we've just discussed, or is it even more than that?
Yeah, I would say it's even more than that. But at the heart of it is this idea of the power of choice. Every chapter of the book is a choice, choosing to disrupt your patterns, choosing your identity, choosing to find your focus, choosing to invest in yourself. All of those are choices. I like to say that living on purpose isn't about changing who you are. It's rising up and becoming the best version of you. It's living bigger than your to-do list. It's really looking out at that horizon and seeing a bright, beautiful tomorrow, a vision that you have of where you want to go in your personal life, in your business, and then working on a regular basis to get to that amazing vision. And I think that's what's really powerful, especially with our businesses, is having that vision of where you want to go and then figuring out, and we talk about this in the book, how do you back it up and figure out what you want to do on a daily basis so that you're getting closer to that? And that's when you live on purpose being that double entendre of living with intention and then living towards that bigger purpose that you have.
Right. And that's the thing that I like. It's your message is one of hope and of positivity and all of that, but you do back it up with the strategy. So for example, one of the things that I read about you is that you say SMART goals don't necessarily work, that you have something called impact goals, a framework for impact goals. Now, we've all, the SMART goals, whatever they are, we've been through it. I've heard it on the show. The S is this, the M is that, and all the things, right?
Yes.
So tell us what's your philosophy there. And I'm sure that ties into this whole on purpose.
Absolutely. Well, because a long time I lived this way, and I know a lot of women do, where they feel like the goal is the big thing. Like when I achieve this level of revenue in my business, then I'll be happy. Or when I lose the 10 pounds, then I'll be happy, right? But the truth is, goals are not the goal. Goals are the vehicle to get you to that life you want. And the SMART framework is an amazing framework. It's been around since 1981, and that's a long time. And so, I have taught thousands of women how to set and achieve their goals. And I've used that SMART framework, but I was constantly reframing it and restructuring it and kind of bending it and twisting it so it really worked for the modern woman. And so when it was time to really dive into goals in the book, I thought, you know what? I love the SMART goals, but it needs an update. I love the simplicity of the fact that each letter stands for a word, but it needed to be updated. So I came up with the impact framework. And so each letter stands for a word. I, inspirational. M, measurable. P, purpose-driven. A, adaptable. C, challenging. And T, timed.
Wow.
So when we're setting our goals, we want to make sure that we're incorporating each one of those aspects in our goals. So I'm happy to dive into those really quickly if you want.
Love it. Yeah, definitely. Please do.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really excited about that, so I'd be happy to do that. So we start with, first of all, inspirational. So our goals need to be written in a way that inspires us. I mean, that's not rocket science right there, right? There's going to be days that are hard, that are going to be tough. So we want to make sure that we're really writing them in a way that gets us excited about them, and not just getting to that finish line, but really finding the joy in the journey of getting there. Because there's going to be days that are hard on the way to that destination. So when you write your goals in a way that's inspirational, we write them as a positive. We write them in a way as if it is inevitable. We don't want to say that I want to quit smoking. We start identifying ourselves as a non-smoker, right? That's a perfect example. When you go to the restaurant, you don't tell the waiter all the things you don't want. You tell the waiter what you do. And that's what we're doing here. We're telling our brain, this is what we want, right? So we can start filtering for the good things. So that's our I. Then we get into M, which is measurable. It's really important to be able to make your goals measurable, because a lot of times we get on our way towards a goal and we get exhausted. We get worn off. We fall off the wagon. And have you ever done that where you're walking up a hill and then you're halfway there and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do it. But then you look behind you and you go, oh, look how far I've come. Sometimes you have to see how far you've come in order to see how far you can go. And that's what having that measurable aspect of your goals is going to help with. It like allows you to track your progress so you can see the movement. It's hard to see on a daily basis. So when we're making things measurable, what I really like people to do is not to hone in on the things like the quantitative things that are like, I'm going to lose the 10 pounds. Or I'm going to get this much revenue. I want you to focus in on what's measurable as to how often you're doing it. You know, instead of focusing in on, I want to lose 10 pounds, what if you focused in on how often you wanted to eat healthy, right? So you could say, I want to eat healthy 4 days a week. So that becomes a measurable part of your goal, because you can see how often you're doing it. We're not worrying about the scale, because really we're wanting to look long term, right? So really focusing in on how often you're doing an activity. So that's measurable. Yeah, I do too, because we get really caught up and we're easily able to beat ourselves up when we don't hit certain numbers. But if we're really paying attention, what we're doing is we're creating habits for ourselves. If we're checking out how often we're doing an activity, we're talking about establishing some healthy habits, which is really important.
You know what I like about it, just to cut you there for a second, is you know, I knee jerk always have against the, like you said, you're talking about changing your eating habits or whatever, like starting Monday, I'm not going to, eat any sweets, or I'm not going to have any bread, or I'm not going to have any pasta, or whatever it is. And it's like, that's all you can think about all damn darn day Monday.
All I
honestly.
Want is the sweets.
Right.
All
and I'm like,
you
don't even normally eat this stuff anyway. Why do you want it today?
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's like whatever it is, whether it's food, whatever. And I just feel like, it's funny because to say 4 days this week, I will, eat healthy is just like, so today wasn't a healthy day, so let me try it tomorrow, right? And then you're sort of more like, I didn't do it yesterday, so I probably should do it today. Like, I don't know. I think probably different people's brains are motivated in different ways, but that speaks to me because I love that. This is your goal, and it's not this takeaway goal. It's an add to goal, almost feels like, right?
It's not, keeping yourself away from the sweets. It's the joy of how you're going to feel after you've eaten healthy.
Right.
So again, that ties in that inspirational idea. It's not about what I'm not going to do. It's what I am going to do. I'm going to eat healthy 4 days a week. Right.
Yeah. Love it.
So then we get on to P. So we had inspirational, measurable, and then P is purpose-driven. Listen, the name of the book is On Purpose. If you didn't think purpose was going to be tied into these goals. But it really is about looking out into the future and seeing how this ties in with what I want. And this is true if we go back to this idea of, the healthy eating. The purpose-driven part of it is, let's say your purpose, part of your, big thing that you're looking forward to is being healthy well into your 90s. Eating healthy is tied to that, right? Losing the 10 pounds isn't, but the healthy eating is. So it's really about seeing what you're doing as bigger than what it is. When we talk about our jobs, it's important to look at what the purpose ties in. So, for example, for interior designers, you're not somebody who is an interior designer. You create spaces for people to have a sanctuary for their home. Or you create a space where business happens and they're able to spread their message even further because they feel confident, because they feel relaxed in those spaces you create. You see how that ties in with something so much bigger than I pick out paint swatches and fabric?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And we talk about that a lot. I mean, many interior designers are tapped into that. And more the challenge is, I think it's less that the challenge in the industry is for a designer to understand that. It's more the challenge of using the right words, whether it be copy on our website or the phrases that we say when we're making our presentations and proposals, of how to convey that we aren't here just to show you a sofa. We're here to create an environment, a lifestyle, something sustaining and healthy and, uplifting for your family and yourself, yada, yada, right?
Yes.
That's more our challenge.
It's focusing in on the benefits, not on the features. And that's something I tell a lot of business owners. We get really caught up in this is what you get. And let's focus in on that ties in with the purpose, right? What is truly the benefit that your clients and customers get when they work with you? How are they going to feel after they have this space? How is this going to help them achieve that vision of what they have in their life, right? Always focusing in on the benefits, how this benefits our clients, rather than just, well, I'm going to do 3 rounds of revisions and I'm going to do, yada, yada, yada. Really tapping into that emotional side of what you do.
Exactly.
I think that's really important in all the languaging, website copy, your emails that you send out, your proposals, all of that. It's really important. And when we tie in purpose, it creates this beautiful thread that connects everything.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah. So, okay, so we had inspirational, measurable, purpose-driven, and then we get to the adaptable, which is the A. And C, challenging. I feel like those go hand in hand because we want our goals to be challenging. We want them to push us out of our comfort zone. That's where growth happens. It doesn't happen, with the Netflix and sweatpants kind of version of life. It happens when we step out and we really challenge ourselves. But here's what happens, and you touched on this a minute ago. What happens is we challenge ourselves, and then we fall off the wagon, and then we're like, I'm the worst. I can't get back on track. So what we want to do is we want to challenge ourselves, but we want it to be adaptable at the same time, because adaptability gives us grace for life, because life happens. So if we're going back to that healthy eating example that we talked about, and we talked about the fact that you want to eat healthy 4 days a week, that's a challenge because maybe right now you're only eating healthy 1 day a week or 2 days a week, or maybe even 0 days a week. It's all okay. So what we can do is we can tie in some adaptability. And one of my favorite ways to do that is to use the MTO method, which stands for minimum, target, and outrageous. So our target is we want to eat healthy 4 days a week. But what if we said the minimum is 2 days a week? So if you get to 2 days a week, you're still winning. You're still doing more healthy eating than you were before. And so you're okay, but we're shooting for that 4. And then the outrageous could be 6 days a week, where that really challenges you and pushes you to maybe, this week's going really well. I already have 4 days a week. Let's try to get to 6. And that's when you stop and you really give yourself a nice celebration, a nice pat on the back, some kind words, some sort of reward because you've hit that outrageous. So it's this beautiful push and pull of we want to challenge ourselves, but we don't want to challenge ourselves so much that it's impossible. And that's what we tend to do. We're either 0 or we're 100. So this gives us that grace and that flexibility for life to happen. If you're traveling, you have sick kids, you've got, a big presentation you're working on, maybe this week isn't going to happen with 4 days of healthy eating. That's okay. You're human. Not every week is going to be amazing. So having that adaptability built in there allows you to say, okay, I had 2 days, I'm still on track, and I'm going to keep moving forward.
Very good. I love it because because so many people will take the excuse of, well, I've already fallen off my goal, my target for this week, so let me just screw it and I'll just wait till another week or month or never to start again.
Or never. That's exactly right. And I think that's a big trap we fall into, that if we're not doing it 100% perfect, 100% of the time, we're failing. And the truth is, if you're not failing from time to time, you're not really even trying, right? Because failing happens when we stick our necks out there, when we challenge ourselves, when we get out of that comfort zone. And if you're not failing from time to time, you're not getting out of your comfort zone. You're playing it safe. So we want to challenge ourselves, but we also want to give ourselves a little bit of grace and a little bit of love to allow life to happen.
I love it. And then timed. So how do we set that?
So timed is, we really want to set, I like to talk about containers anytime I'm talking about anything productivity related. And I call it a container because, and this is kind of funny, but in my mind's eye, I see it like as a Tupperware container where there's, side walls, and then you have a start time, and then you have the part in the middle, and then you have an end time. So you have a time where you get in that container and then a time to get out. And the reason why we want to have it timed is we want to have a chance to stop and check in. So even if it's an ongoing thing that we're wanting to do long term, like healthy eating, we're not going to say, I'm going to end that in March and I'm done. And then I'm going back to the cheeseburgers. You might want to, but really that's what we need to do. But having times is, let's say that you decide, I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to target for 4 times a week with a minimum of 2, but an outrageous goal of 6 by March. And so in March, you're going to stop and you're going to say, okay, how am I doing? This is a perfect opportunity to stop and check in and say, all right, do I need to change this goal? Am I hitting my target more times than not? Do I need to change my target to 3? Do I need to change my target to 5? What do I want to do in moving forward? So having a spot to stop and check in with yourself is really, really important with our goals, even for something we want to have long term, like healthy eating.
Okay. So I love all this. Do me a favor, Tanya. I'm sure with all of the people that you have coached, with writing your 2 books, all of the experience, you could relate this to something that we do in our workspace. I love the analogy for the food, and it works for me. It totally does.
Yeah.
But just take it to something in your experience, maybe a client that you've worked with, that we take this, maybe there's a goal of, I don't know, I'm going to say, reading your emails. Don't teach me how to do it though, Tanya, because I don't want to do it. But let's just say somebody wanted to master their emails.
Yeah.
Or anything. Like for designers, maybe they understand that they should be on a rotation of getting proposals out or sourcing. I don't know. Is there a tangible work-related goal you could share with us to make it clear that way?
Oh yeah, 1,000 different ways that we could go with this. Let's go with the one that you mentioned, the email, checking in with email, because email inboxes are the black hole of business,
I
right?
hate them. I'm just like,
no.
no.
I know, I do too, because the truth is 99% of what's in your inbox isn't really driving you forward.
No.
And if we were really to take a good look at your business and how it's going, you would find that the amount of time you spend on email is vastly disproportionate to the amount of revenue it's really bringing you in.
Right.
So we really want to create containers. Back to that word containers here. We want to create containers of time where we're checking in with our email. I'm a really big advocate of checking in with email 4 times a day, and that's it. That's it, 15 minutes at the very most. Most of the time it's 10. I like to check my email in the morning, not first thing, but around 10 o'clock. So after I've already established my own priorities for the day, I check it around lunch, 1 time mid-afternoon, and then 1 time evening.
Okay.
Around a little after dinner time, just to check in with people in different time zones and things like that. But so you could set a goal. So your goal would not be, I'm not going to be in my email, right? Your goal, we want to make it inspirational.
I'm doing good on that one though, Tanya. I am.
I like that. I like the way you roll. We would say something for inspirational, like I am going to really focus in on the face-to-face relationships with my clients and reaching out to my clients with phone calls. Or I'm going to not spend, instead of saying not, we're going to say, I would like to spend a less time in my inbox and more time on, and then give yourself something you're going to spend that time on, right?
Okay.
So measurable would be, we're going to check in 4 times a day, right? We're going to set a goal for ourselves to check in 4 times a day. And we're going to do things like we're going to pause our inbox so we're not getting emails. We're going to turn off our notifications. We'll do some things to help ourselves out, but make it measurable. We're going to check in 4 times a day. Purpose-driven. How does this tie with my purpose? I would take a good look at how email is really driving your revenue. And you'll see that when we think about what you do as a business owner, the time you're spending in your inbox isn't nurturing those relationships the way that we act like it is. The thing that nurtures our relationships is the face-to-face interactions, the Zoom calls even, that counts as face-to-face, the phone calls, the times where you're listening to your client and really taking in. So really connecting that, being out of your inbox, and understanding that not being in your inbox makes you a better designer, makes you a better photographer, makes you a better service provider, because you're actually giving more of yourself rather than less, right?
Right.
So we would make it challenging, because I can guarantee you right now, the idea of checking in with your email 4 times a day, people are like, what?
As opposed to 4 times a
that?
minute? You mean 4 times a minute?
Yes, rather than closing and then reopening and refreshing and closing and opening and refreshing. I've been there, trust me, I know. So it's already challenging, that idea, but we can make it adaptable. Our goal is 4 times a day. Your minimum would be that I'm doing it this time, it would be more, right? Minimum, I'm going to check in, we'll say 8 times to start. And then the outrageous would be I get myself down to two times a day of checking it. And I get that to a pattern because then I'm also going to push myself, right? Because it's challenging. How could I only check my email twice a day? Well, I could have my EA help me out, or my VA, or whoever is helping you out create a system for that. So they're checking in for you instead of you doing all the checking in, right? It's gonna challenge you to think outside of the box of how do I make this work? And then the timed would be, I would set a goal for yourself of when you're going to check in to see how did I do with this? How is this working for me? How do I feel? And I would set a goal for something like that, like 4 weeks. Let's try 4 weeks of checking
or 4 hours, Tanya. 4 hours. Let's see how we did in the morning.
Yes, that works too.
I'm an all or nothing. I'm either opening and refreshing, opening and refreshing, or I will go 3 days without doing it. Like because what happens is
there's no in between.
Well, this is the thing. I know how much of a time suck it is. And I'm just like, this is silly. I don't have time for this crap today. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Otherwise, I do like my friend Desi Cresswell, who has been on the show and is a co-author in one of the books. You know, like, LuAnn, you're buffering. You're checking email instead of doing a project. I'm like, you're right, Des.
It's a great tool for procrastration because you're like, but I'm checking in for clients.
Exactly.
Like, no,
might
really,
be a sponsor inquiry.
I'm delaying the inevitable. But setting these impact goals, it works whether we're talking about email or we're talking about networking for your clients. That's a great thing to be measuring. How often are you reaching out to your customers and your clients? And one of the ways you can make that measurable is you could set a goal for how many clients you're going to reach out to every day. Like I'm going to reach out to 4 clients in a day. So you put paper clips out, 4 paper clips. You reach out to one, you move the paper clip over. You reach out to a second one, you move the paper clip over. You just keep moving those paper clips over, and that's how you can measure it. So there's lots of ways you can get creative with this impact goal framework.
I love it. I mean, it's so good. And the thing is, what I'm curious, and if you were not a productivity expert, I probably wouldn't take this next question to you, but I feel like this is really your secret sauce here. So,
okay, I'm excited for this.
So, for example, to go into the weeds. So, yes, maybe we train ourselves and we really are pretty good at the 4 times a day or whatever we determine is a valuable improvement for our particular business model. But, for the person who doesn't have an EA or a VA, so, is there a secondary system for keeping track of, like a designer might get in his or her email inbox, something that requires a revision, like something that's complicated that you just can't say, hey, 2:00 p.m. I'll see you, right? So when you're in and you're doing your 4 times a day and things become complicated, now it's the managing and the keeping track, because your day, you're not necessarily, I don't think you're advocating that with the 4 times that you check in, you're going to accomplish everything in the inbox. It's not like that's what you're saying. So is there a secondary organizational tool that you have used with success for yourself and your clients?
Yeah. So first of all, I would say especially if you don't have an EA, it's so important to have FAQs on your website. And really using a CRM, I think, is really helpful because you can set that up so that you have a contact us form on your website, right? And like we use Zendesk. Okay. So for my company, we use Zendesk. So the contact us form is embedded in our website. And as soon as someone types an email, what Zendesk does is it goes, oh, does one of these answer your question?
Oh.
And so it automatically, because we've set up our frequently asked questions, so we all know what questions we get asked time and time again, right? How long does this take? Or, what are your base level charges or whatever it is. But that way we're avoiding getting those emails at all in our inbox. So that's the first line of defense, I think, is making sure that you don't want to overwhelm people by having all the information throughout your site, but you can set that up through an FAQs on your site. And then, like I said, have that form embedded so that those are already being circumvented, not by an EA, but an AI, basically.
Right,
in
right.
that it's coming and it's acting as your guard. It's protecting you and it's shielding you from getting all these emails that are the same thing over and over again. I also think it's really important to have either canned responses. We call them macros in a lot of CRM programs, but pre-filled answers to a lot of those questions we get again and again. What we do for our customer service model is we have these pre-filled, but we always, 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 always soften, customize them so no one ever feels like they're getting a canned response. But the bulk of what you're saying or what you're wanting to convey in the email, you can already have pre-written. Right.
So like email templates, like this kind of thing comes in. So it says this, but we're human. We read it and we say, hey, Sally.
Yes.
And we say something, one line that pertains particular to their email, but the rest of it is templated and we can shoot that out.
Exactly. Like a perfect example is with my productivity company, someone will say, oh, I just got engaged. Which product do you think is going to work best for us? I'm always like, okay, we don't just say, oh, we think this is going to work best for you. It's congratulations. It's so exciting that you're getting married. Here's what we have found is that, right? So you're taking that template and you're softening it. You're making it so it's more fitting for them. We never want our customers and our clients to feel like they're just another email in our inbox. And that's what happens when we're filling our inbox with a lot of emails is we get in that mode where we're just answering really quickly and we're not really nurturing our clients. And I think it's really important, especially as we're cultivating what I call soulmate clients, the clients that you absolutely love working with, the clients that you're like, oh, you're made for me, I am made for you, right? Your soulmate clients. We want those relationships to feel nurtured. And that happens when we do these other things to shorten the amount of time we're spending in our inbox. So then we can really nurture them a lot better. But I have, for example, my inbox set up, and you can do this. I use G Suites, just so you guys know, but you can do this through a lot of different programs. I have 3 inboxes set up on my main screen, and those inboxes are dictated by how I label something. So if I have a customer who is, needs to be answered today, I'll mark it with a label that says needs to be answered today. And what it does is it shoots it over to this other area of my inbox, this other inbox that I have that's labeled needs to be answered today. And so it shoots it over right away over to that area. So then I know today I have to answer all of these emails. So I just really automate that as much as I possibly can. Listen, here's the truth. I don't want to spend any time in my inbox.
Right. Neither do I.
I don't think as a business owner, you should be spending very much time at all in your inbox if possible. That's definitely something that is one of the things I encourage women to delegate first is getting somebody in to be your buffer for a lot of these client inquiries and these questions that you're getting, because it frees up your time. You're the visionary of your business, and that's your zone of genius. And if you're spending your time in your inbox, you're neglecting your zone of genius. Your zone of genius is what you really bring to these clients, what you do to wow them and amaze them. And if you're spending a good portion of your day answering emails, you're denying your gifts to your clients and your customers, and you're denying yourself the joy of leaning into those gifts as well.
It just drags you down. It
does. Without
drags
question.
you down.
Without question.
It's like, what? So I always say to people, if you didn't hear from me, if you email me and you didn't hear from me, that really doesn't mean anything. I might not have ever read it. Oh gosh.
But I like how you've established these boundaries. I think that's one of the things too. It's really, we feel guilty establishing our boundaries, but then when people overstep them, we get irritated and angry when the client is upset we haven't responded to an email at 11 o'clock at night. But if we're answering emails at 11 o'clock at night,
we're setting mixed
that precedence for them. And so then they're like, well, why isn't she answering my emails at 11 o'clock at night? And you're thinking, why would I answer your email? It's 11 o'clock at night. So it really is about establishing those boundaries. First of all, on your website, in your email footer as part of your signature. I think that's really important. I think it's really important to have it in your contracts, really establishing the boundaries of when you're available and when you're not. And there is a really big difference between the hours of business and the hours of availability. Hours of business are the hours that you are actively working on your business. It doesn't mean you have to be readily available for everyone, because you want to have some times where you're shutting off your phone and you're really getting into that zone of the amazing work that you do, right? Hours of availability are when you're available for clients to reach out and communicate with you. So really establishing those from the start of your relationship is really important. And the truth is, being kind and being assertive are not mutually exclusive. So when you establish your boundaries and you tell people, this is when I'm available, people will respect it. You can do it in a very kind, very loving way that nurtures your clients, but it still establishes the boundary. That's
a very critical distinction that you are talking about there, because that is really the objection that I have with email and so forth, because it comes in and it, has this, I don't know, this outward expectation on it that it's there. You got to do something with it. I sent it. You have it. And it's like, really? But I'm not doing that right now. You know what I mean? That's not what my day is about, right? And so then to just back it out and say, if I'm an interior designer, that, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I am available for communication. But the other days I might be on site or I might be doing drawings. I'm working. I'm not working, but that doesn't mean that's the available hours for communication, new inquiries, and all the things. It's funny because we were just at High Point a couple of months ago. And,
my son goes to High Point.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were there for High Point Market, and Sara Brennan, who is one of our beloved listeners and LuAnn University instructors and one of the co-authors, all the things, and she was explaining this tiny little thing that she does in her calendar, and I thought, well, listen, that's so clever. So, and Sarah's going to listen to this, and she's going to be like, Lou, that's not exactly how it works, but it was sort of like this, and this hit me between the eyes. So, for example, she knows that she needs X amount of time for a new client consultation. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's generally 2 hours plus allowed time for travel. So maybe in the big picture, if somebody were to say to her in her business, if I were going to set up a new client consultation for you, what do you need? And she'd probably say, without knowing any of the details, let's call it 3 hours from start to finish, right? And so what happens is she has a recurring slot in her calendar, let's call it every Thursday at 2 o'clock, for a new client consultation. And if this particular Thursday there isn't one, okay, she can do something else. But it's a standing opening slot. And to me, that was just like, whoa. So now everybody in her business, if a new client consultation comes through, if she says to somebody, I just did a discovery call with Mrs. Smith, let's set up a client consultation, there isn't this juggle of, well, could you not go to yoga on Friday, maybe take her at 10 o'clock? Could you not pick up Mason and Shay on Thursday or Tuesday and do this? Right? Yeah, it's just like, look, it's Thursdays at 2 o'clock. Pick one. I was just like, this is genius, right?
It's so smart. It's really, it gets into that whole idea of theming your days. That's one of the things that I think is really important, because it creates this rhythm. And the idea that the things like going to the yoga class, that's not negotiable.
Right.
That's a priority. And that's the thing is, so often we'll say, well, I can skip the yoga class. I love yoga class, but I'm going to skip it anyways. No, that is an established priority. That's a boundary for you, right? I am not going to miss yoga class. I'm not going to miss picking up my kids. These are the times I'm available. And people can work around them. I think too, if you don't have, somebody who's doing your scheduling, putting something like that into one of these calendar programs,
Acuity
like Calendly
or something,
yes, or one of those where the calendar is just on Thursday, it's filled with Thursdays at 2 o'clock. And
right.
Pick your day.
Figure it out, lady.
Again, take you out of this process. I think that's the biggest thing that we want to do for these business owners is, when we think about that purpose that we talked about earlier, about how your purpose is about so much more than just picking paint chips out or taking pictures or doing whatever it is you do, it's so much bigger than that. If you're spending your time in your business doing the dregs, doing the grunt work, how can we automate that? If you can't afford team, you can afford $6 a month for Calendly. I promise you, you can. And if you can't afford the $6 a month, you need to raise your prices.
Right, exactly. But, I have to say, and all of that is true, Tanya. Every bit of that is true. But I even liked it from the standpoint, like WindowWorks, my other business, it is entirely too complicated to run on a Calendly or an Acuity. We've got 3 salespeople, 6 installers. It's and there is a lot of fluidity, and there is we cover a big area, a big 3-hour radius outside of New York City here. And just because 2 o'clock on Tuesday is open for anybody if they were in an Acuity or something, if that's in Bergen County, 45 minutes away, and I'm actually physically looking at the calendar and I'm like, oh, Kim is going to be in Bergen on Wednesday, then that's what we're going to do. We're not going to let the people pick themselves. But so what I was saying is, it was the first time I saw clarity on, but you can still, we've forever in WindowWorks have blocked time out for office time. Salespeople need office time in order to prepare the quotes, to place their orders, all the things. But it was the first time that I really could see, like with an interior designer, just saying, like, everybody in the office knows that and if you're a busier firm, a bigger firm, so maybe new client consultations are Tuesdays and Thursdays for 2 hours each time or 3 hours each time. This way, it just gives, to me, watching my bigger team and watching the people on the phone go to the salespeople and say, she just wants one Roman shade. Can you squeeze it in before that other appointment? And I look at and I look at the faces.
Just one Roman shade. That's
right,
it.
right. And I look at the faces, and they're like, and I'm like, and I step in and I go, no, the answer is no, no. The answer is no. She's not available. They'll wait. But, I don't know. It was a big aha moment for me. And I love the aha moments. And I thought it was pretty clever on Sarah's part.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one other thing that I read about that I would love for you to just, unless you say to me, LuAnn, that's a whole nother episode. And then I'm going to have to invite you back again, Tanya. But
well, I might just say that anyways, because I'm enjoying this conversation.
Is habit stacking. And I thought that was an interesting concept. And, if you're familiar with Gretchen Rubin, she's got some thoughts that I wondered if it connected with that. So tell us a little bit about what it means for you.
Yeah, habit stacking is really this idea that, first of all, we look at people in the world and we think, oh, they're so disciplined. They have so much willpower. I don't have enough willpower to do the things I want to do. And willpower, discipline, they're overrated. There's just really a series of habits that people have established for themselves, and it looks like discipline. And the truth is 40 to 60% of our daily actions are habits. We already have habits in place. Whether we like those habits or not, that's another question. But everything that we're doing on a regular basis is generally a habit. You put the same leg in your pants every single time. Every single time. You don't even realize it, right?
Right.
You probably have the same routine in the shower.
I'd probably fall if I tried to put the left leg in first.
It would feel like doing something with the wrong hand, like it doesn't work. I don't know. But it's true. We have these habits. So when we have habits already established, we can easily stack on top of them. We can either stack before them or after them. So a perfect habit to talk about, because this is a habit for so many people, is making coffee in the morning or going over to the coffee maker. That's a habit. You don't have to think about, do I want coffee? Do I not want coffee? It's like, no, I'm getting coffee. And you go across and you get the coffee, right? So let's say that you're wanting to really make more time for reflective journaling, or let's say that it's meditation or something like that. Let's go with the reflective journaling. You already have a habit of drinking coffee in the morning. So what you can do is leave your journal next to your coffee maker, because you're already going across. This is something you're doing automatically, going to get your coffee. When you get to the coffee maker, you're immediately triggered when you see, oh, journal. Oh, next what I want to do is I want to do my journaling. So then you go and you sit down with your journal, and maybe you have a glass over there. So then you're like, oh, yes, I want to drink my glass of water with it. So you just stack these habits off of things you are already doing. And that's how we establish a routine or a pattern for ourselves that feels really healthy, really nurturing, doing the things that we want to do on a regular basis. It's not discipline. It's really just hijacking the way our brain works and building in these habits.
I love it. And I have to say, my husband functions like this intuitively. And for the many, many years of our, first many years of our marriage, I mean to say, I was like, you're a lunatic. Like, you're literally nuts. But I've watched and I've noticed how it works for him. If he's going to do this, he's going to do that. If he's going to do this, he's like, if you're going to give him a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk. Like, he's just that guy, right? It's just like, if this
you
happens,
want to
that
take up
happens.
the counters in a kitchen, you're going to have to get a new sink. If you're going to get a new sink, you might as well get a new fixture, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I've been there too.
Yes. And he just will consistently, puts his keys next to, the papers that have to go out to Window Works the next day. He puts his, that next to his phone, next to that. He just literally always stacks things together. And, it's a cool thing, but I know what you're saying is, if you just doing it though, is the discipline in the beginning, if your brain is wired left of that. I'm just to tell you, you know what I'm saying?
And that's where stacking on something that you're already doing. So instead of trying to establish a whole new habit of, like, at 10 o'clock in the middle of me doing all these other things, I'm going to stop and I'm going to do reflective journaling and drink a glass of water. That doesn't work. Same thing with, like, brushing your teeth. or let's say you want to do a meditation. You can meditate while you brush your teeth. You don't have to sit on a mountaintop, with your legs crossed to meditate. That way you start getting yourself in that rhythm and it becomes easier. So it's almost like a little shortcut to establishing these habits. And then eventually, if you didn't want to do them at that time of day, you just move it because it's already become a habit. I love my reflective journaling, so I'm going to do it. Now I'm going to start doing it at 10 o'clock. But we have these milestones in our day that we do on a regular basis. Getting out of bed, brushing our teeth. I'm hoping that all of us have that habit of brushing our teeth.
If you don't,
right?
don't tell us.
No. Yeah, please don't tell us if that's not a habit for you. We have a habit a lot of times of eating lunch, right? Or we have things like picking up our kids. So we have these keystone things that we're doing on a regular basis. How do we piggyback off of those to do the things that we really want to do, that really nurture us?
It's an interesting challenge to put to yourself, to really think about what are the things that you do instinctively, habitually, and what can you add to it to just start to, flex that muscle on having the second habit built into it. I like it. I've done it over the years, here and there, some more successfully than others, but, even like silly things. I remember at one point, I would every time I brush my teeth, I'm going to do squats. And so I would squat up and down as I'm brushing my teeth. And I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. This one isn't going to work.
So plus because you have to look at yourself brushing your teeth doing the squat. So it's just all, yeah.
Yeah. So then I moved it to, then I'll do knee raises. So that I can do while I brush my teeth.
I do calf lifts. Like I get up on my toes.
Yes.
And I do that. And I slowly go down on my toes while I brush my teeth. That's one of the things.
See,
I drink a glass of water. I leave my water like my glass, that's 16 ounces. That's, I know exactly how high I had to fill it up to get to 16 ounces. I leave that right next to my toothbrush. So I brush my teeth and have my 16 ounces of water first thing in my morning. And I'm already well on my way to my good habit of drinking water.
Yes, very good.
Little things, tiny things.
I love it.
It adds up.
Well, so good. And, I love your very practical approach to increasing our productivity, shifting our mindset, just expanding our thought process on ways that we can make little incremental differences that will make big differences in our daily life and in our business, right, Tanya?
Yes. I call them small, huge movements. They're small because they're simple, easy to manage, yet monumental in the impact they make in your life overall. And that's the thing, is we get so caught up in the big things, having to jump across the Grand Canyon, right? When in fact, if you just put one foot in front of the other, made your way down the canyon walls, get across, you'd be over on the other side much faster.
Right. That's so true. That's so true. So true. I love it. I love when the advice is like this, just very practical. It's it's hard to dispute it. If you just say, give it a try, it might work, right?
All I'm asking.
That's it. I love it. So
I'm really big on that.
Yeah. So before you go, tell everyone how they find your podcast, how they find your books, how they get into your world.
Yeah, so the best place to really connect with me is at tanyadalton.com. And you can find links to my podcast, The Intentional Advantage, there. You can also find links to both my books, The Joy of Missing Out and On Purpose, The Busy Woman's Guide to an Extraordinary Life of Meaning and Success. You can find those on my site, but both of those books can be purchased anywhere books are sold. They're online and in stores. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target.com, wherever you like to shop.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure to get to know you, Tanya.
Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
A lot to take in, right? Lots of tips and tricks, but all very practical and all actionable and relatable. We have all pulled into our driveway at some point and wondered, how the heck did I get here, right? You know that feeling, did I even stop at a red light? Because so much of our daily life is on automatic. We did stop at the red lights. We did use our turn signal, but we weren't truly present in the moment. We were going through the motions while our brain was racing a mile a minute. So how do we train ourselves to be more present? Tanya's exercise of filtering for pink is a very interesting place to start, right? And this little beginner's exercise of hers has two levels to it. At the simplest level, it forces us to be present in the moment. Yay for that. On a deeper level, it trains our brain to be open to and filter for opportunity. right? Because as Tanya says, your brain looks for what you tell it to look for. I love this. I love this, okay? Because if you're looking for bad, you're going to find it. If you look for good, though, you're going to find that, okay? I love that. If you declare an intention, all of a sudden you start to see all the ways that you can make that intention come to fruition. That's what it is. Right? So, and we all want to get to that place where we're living with purpose, living with intention, and living toward whatever the bigger purpose is that we have declared for ourselves. Okay. So, and I also love this thing, helping us set goals, right? Goals help us make our moments count and help us strive for the things that are meaningful. And I love that she looks at goals a little differently. And she says, the goal isn't the goal. The goal is a vehicle to get you to where you want in life. So set your goals on how you want your life to look. Then set your intention on achieving it and start noticing it all around you. All right. And then also Tanya talked about, instead of using the SMART goal framework, she created something that spoke to celebrating real life, the ups and the downs, the need for iteration and refinement, the not knowing the answer from the start. Loved it. I really did. So it's one of those things again. We're like, right, that makes so much sense when you explain it to me. And she calls her goal framework IMPACT. Okay. To recap, IMPACT is an acronym that she created for inspirational, measurable, purpose-driven, adaptable, challenging, and timed. Okay. Tanya calls us to set goals that include all of these aspects. All right. I highly encourage you to go back and re-listen, reviewing what and how to think about and implement each step of impact. All right. And I want you to do that on your own, but I am just going to call out that I for inspirational. All right. This is talking to the universe, and we have to be very specific when we talk to the universe. So her example of I want to quit smoking versus I am a non-smoker. Tell the universe what the best of you is. Don't put any energy into what you don't want to be. This is powerful, okay? State what you want to be, what you are becoming every day. Leave the negative behind, because the universe doesn't understand the nuance of what you're trying to say. It doesn't, when you say, I want to quit smoking, it doesn't get it. It doesn't get it. It hears that you're a smoker, okay? Versus, I am a non-smoker. Very powerful, very direct. This is, I know it's a little woo-woo, but if you have any woo-woo in you, you know how real this is, okay? All right. Now, I also love Tanya's advice to not let perfection be the enemy of good. Tanya also suggests setting progress increments, such as achieving a minimum of X amount of things a week you're going to do. So in our example, we talked about a minimum of eating healthy twice a week with a target of 4 times and an outrageous win of 6 times. How much do you love this? So it could be a minimum of I empty my complete inbox 2 times a week. I have a target of emptying it 4 times a week, and I am a rock star if I empty it 6 times a week. Okay, I'm nowhere near rock star status with inboxes, but it's a goal, right? So you can translate this into anything that you're working on. And I love this little grace of minimum, target, and rock star status. I think, I don't know, you know what? It's so funny is I've learned through the years that we are each motivated by different things, different sentences, different ideas, different tactics, just like this tactic. They click with some of us and not with others. This one clicked with me. Curious if it clicks with you too. By the way, if it does or it didn't, love for you to share it in the LuAnn I Garen Friends Facebook group. Tell me what you think about it, okay? Because this one really, it hit it for me. All right, and I love that. This one just avoids, for me, it helps us avoid the trap of getting defeated and giving up because we're not doing it right 100% of the time. We don't have to live in that we're failing. We're working towards, and that's so much more productive and it resonates with me, okay? All right, and Tanya called it small, huge moments. Another killer line. Totally love that line. Small, huge moments. So good. All right. Now, I want to also say if one of your goals for next year is to bring in more income to your interior design firm, I want you to think about adding hardwood flooring to your mix of products and services. Our friends at Revel Woods partner with you to deliver high quality wood flooring to your clients. Really, take a moment, go sign up for the designer trade program, have a conversation with Aubrey or John, have a conversation with somebody. They are just dying to tell you how to do it. You do not have to figure it out on your own, and it is figure outable. Okay, so go to revelwoods.com/pro-account, revelwoods.com/pro-account, and add some dollar bills to your bottom line in 2022. All right, so what do you think? Are you going to get serious and set an impact goal for yourself? Are you? One for your business, could be personal, could be business, could be both. All right. You don't have to wait till January. Okay. There's no magic, thing that happens January 1st. It could be, December 3rd. You can set a goal today. All right. And if you did, you might be, really partway or all the way there towards that goal by January 1st. Right. So, love to know how this episode hit you. Definitely share it with me on, like I said, LuAnn Niagara and Friends Facebook group or on the social media post and Instagram. Love to get your feedback on it. And thank you for listening. Thank you, Tanya, for your amazing ideas. Totally love the conversation. All right, everybody, decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNiagara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.